Take a look at my face. I am the future. The words of Alice Cooper, early shock rocker, legend in the rock and roll community. A lyric from a song that he did for the soundtrack of a film that us old fellas remember from back in the day, a film called Class of 1984. Boy, you want to talk about dating yourself. Take a look at those costumes, and the slogan for the film was, "We are the future, and nothing can stop us." And boy, the Grazers were all aflutter about that little coming dystopia, weren't they? They just thought that those Satanist devil metal guys and the Motley Crue fellas and the punk rockers with their mohawks and funky hairstyles, boy, it was going to be the dark era in the history of the USA. We are the future and nothing can stop us. And as with all dystopias, there was some truth to it, and then it just generally didn't pan out the way they thought it was going to be. Where dystopian futures are concerned, there's always going to be that guy. He might even look like that guy that's always saying the end is near. And then behind that guy, there's always another guy that looks at that guy and says, optimist. It didn't turn out to be nearly as bad as we thought it was going to be. In fact, the real dark future didn't come for decades, but it is truly upon us. Now, I am the face of the future. I am the new face of this. I am the new face of that. I am so generally opposed to calling something the new face of anything because it's just so cliched and played out. But for the purposes of the stuff that we're going to be going over today, it applies. So let's take it and run with it, shall we? This young lady right here, we were told, was the new face of the WNBA, Miss Caitlin Clark. Now, we all know, and brother, please, I gotta explain this to y'all. I am loath to even be talking about women's professional sports, but trust me, this all ties in. You guys are already rolling your eyes, and you should be. I totally get it. Caitlin Clark. She was the new face of women's sports. She was the new face of the WNBA. And you know what? It played out. It was totally relevant. Suddenly, people were interested in the sport. A not unattractive straight white woman playing professional basketball and running circles around, well, let's call it what it is, the allegiance of black lesbians that made up the rest of the league. And boy, they couldn't stand for that for 2 seconds. It turned into a violence festival. Every game was an effort to pound down this uppity white girl. How dare you come up into the WNBA and think, oh, all of a sudden it's a special thing now. They were beating her, they were gouging her eyes, they were throwing her to the ground. It was a spectacle. And Caitlin had an opportunity to stand tall and really be that new face. And instead of doing that, she apologized. What? Wait a minute. Wait, wasn't she the one getting flagrantly fouled? Wasn't she the one getting dragged down to the court and pounded on, getting her eyes gouged, all this kind of stuff? And wasn't wasn't she the one who was the victim of this? But as is so often the case, she went forward and apologized. It wasn't, after all, the violence of the other players and the outright hatred and disdain that they outright vocalized against her. No, it was her fault for her white privilege. Yep. Basically, sorry for being white. So much for the new face of women's sports. But then came a real face. And again, I was slow to come around to this. I was really late to the party. Again, the whole thought of like women's professional sports held about as much interest to me as golf. Okay, I probably could get more behind golf, but it's not about the sport. It's about the cultural statement that's being made here. See, because Sophie, she got treated to the same thing. We're talking about a very attractive, professional, straight, white athlete in a sport dominated by black lesbians, and she's running circles around them all up and down the court. And the response was exactly the same. Flagrant fouls like this one, which wasn't that long ago. She got elbowed in the face, and the refs called a foul on her. How dare this uppity white girl repeatedly slam her face into that opposing player's elbow? How dare she? And we're talking serious injuries, stuff that made Caitlin's troubles look like nothing in comparison. This one here, where she damn near lost a tooth, and this one that happened this week, about as flagrant as it gets. And we can all go back. You can find the video online if you're so inclined. And you wouldn't be wasting your time to look at it. It is a sheer outrage. She got dragged, man. She got clotheslined. Take a look at that. As flagrant as it gets. And to their credit, the refs actually called a foul. They called a technical foul, a flagrant technical foul. I think that's a basketball thing. Somebody got to fact check me on that one. On the player, we'll just call her Miss Carrington because I can't even pronounce her first name. She was ejected from the game. And the player in question, one guess what the excuse was. One guess. Yeah, white privilege. Who is this uppity white girl to think that I can't clothesline her across the face and stay in the game like nothing happened? Who is she to be roaching up on our territory? But being the new face of the league meant standing strong. And she didn't take any crap, refuses to take any crap from anyone. Good on her. You know, this has become like meme worthy, the whole just pointing the finger and agitating to show these people for who they really are and how they really act. She refuses to back down. And then she had the audacity, the temerity, the unmitigated gall to say that men don't belong in women's sports. There was an incident up in my home state where some young ladies had come out to protest the state's law about letting biological men play in competitive sports against biological women. That is another of a dozen shames of my home state of Washington. Sophie Cunningham came out against it. And some of the young girls were there to see Sophie Cunningham in the arena in Seattle. They were there to see her. And one of the co-owners of the team, a grown-ass woman, allegedly, walked up to these young girls and called them crazy, called them assholes, and said, I hope your God forgives you for your hatred. Sophie came out against that. She came out against the activity. She came out against what that co-owner of the Seattle team did to these young ladies. And you know what she refused to do? Apologize. If that's the new face of the sport, that is a face that I can stand behind. Some new faces good, some new faces not so much. Let's look at the new face of the Democratic Party. In fact, before we get on to that, let's look at the unexpected new face of the Republican Party. That's Bill Maher, guys. That's as classically liberal as they come. And he came out and did a diatribe on his HBO program this week, talking about how the Democrats had been flat overrun by communists. Said that Trump has told a billion lies, but when he says that the Democratic Party are communists, that's not one of them. He pointed out this little thing, and you guys heard me elaborate on this on the sermon just a couple of weeks ago. They have 212 Democrats in Congress, 212 Democrats. And there was a simple pledge that said, we are capitalists, not socialists. We want safety, not lawlessness. We are proud, not ashamed of America. And out of 212 Democrats in Congress, only 8 were willing to sign that document. Amazing. The new face of the Democratic Party are the ones that refuse to stand up to communism. The new face of Democratic Party commentators, Hassan Piker. Mao Zedong is one of the great leaders of this world, apparently overlooking the Great Leap Forward and the 20 to 100 million people that died in the wake of it. Piker got on the other day at a live event cosplaying as Mao Zedong. Not even making that up. You guys fact check me on all of this stuff. This is the new face of the Democratic Party. Another new face of the Democratic Party, her legacy goes all the way back to the early days of the COVID pandemic and even before. This is back in November of 2020. Yeah, Francesca Hong. She is in contention to be the governor of a blue state. She is a raging Democrat. And by Democrat, I mean communist. This was back in 2020. Cancel Thanksgiving in the wake of the COVID pandemic. It takes a worldwide pandemic for us to realize that we should stop celebrating colonialism and the original super spreader event that killed indigenous folks and women. So be it. Not as unhinged as I've seen it. It gets much worse. We go back a little bit further, just a year earlier. Talk about imaginary persecution. Any of you guys ever been to a Culver's? You ever been to the Midwest? You ever been to Wisconsin? Not a bad place. Decent burgers, some frozen custard. I ate 2 bites of my kid's cheeseburger at a Culver's in Black River Falls and told them they just ran out of ice cream. Mostly I just wanted to leave because I was on the verge of an anxiety attack. Too many old white people who didn't think we spoke English. I'll take things that never happened for 1,000, Alex. Any of you guys ever been to Wisconsin? It's about as blue and about as white guilt as it gets. There wasn't a single person in there. This is the same imaginary persecution that drives every bit of this complex. But as a result, communists like this are the new face of the Democratic Party. These are her tweets. She's about to be governor, potentially, of the state of Wisconsin. Defund the police. ICE out of Wisconsin, abolish ICE. Defund the police as a first step towards abolishing the police. Abolish the Senate. Police exist to uphold white supremacy. Defund, then abolish. Reform can't be an option. Look at the dates on these guys. Not that long ago. And if you think she's backed off of that, you couldn't be more wrong. She's doubled down in every single one of them. And she is one of hundreds. Let me refer you back again to this new face of the Democratic Party. 8 were willing to sign that simple pledge that they were capitalist, not socialist. They wanted safety, not lawlessness. We are proud and not ashamed of America. 8 out of 212. That is the new face of the Democratic Party. Now, what is the new face with regard to women? Sometimes the choices are equally reprehensible, and sometimes one is reprehensible, but the other one is going to wind up with bodies. Just a couple of weeks ago, Shiloh Hendricks, we all know what she said. We've all seen the video. We all know the circumstances, and we couldn't have been more bothered to think of, what does this mean? Is this the new face of white women in America? The horror. Certainly nobody was thinking of her as a First Amendment hero, and maybe correctly so. But when given the option of this being the face of women and this being the face of women in modern America, we're going to get into the actual circumstances behind this. 2 in the course of one day. The woman in the fetching short black dress, she managed to get away from this assailant. Multiple violent felon. We all know the story because it plays out every single day. And in all likelihood, let's call it what it is, both of these women voted in all likelihood for the very policies that enabled these attacks. The young lady in the black dress, she had to run out into traffic to get away. No one got out of their cars and intervened. They honked their horns as this guy was very obviously in broad daylight assaulting this woman. Nobody intervened. Nobody intervened. Now, does that mean these women deserved it? Not by a damn sight. But the one in the purple, she was concussed. You guys should look up that video. It is disturbing. She was beaten literally within an inch of her life. Guys, if you've been in the fight game for any length of time, whether it's in the cage or whether you've been in a street scrap and watched somebody take a solid shot to the head, we know what that look means, don't we? That look means that they're either on their way to dead or within 1 or 2 blows of being dead. Those eyes are rolled back. The pupils are blown. She's got blood trickling out her mouth. She's making the semi-devil snoring noises. Guys, if you've ever been in a violent episode, hand-to-hand, up close like that, at bad breath distance, we know how close this woman was to dead. No one got out. No one intervened. Now, again, the fact that, let's be real, both of these women, being from Charlotte, Mecklenburg area, in all likelihood, they voted to have shorter equity-based sentencing. They voted for no cash bail. They voted to have prosecutors that would turn loose violent criminals because they were part of marginalized communities. They voted for this. But I will not cross the line and say that they deserved it. They have been tragically misled. Now, we can't tolerate them continuing in their ignorance, but did they deserve this? How about Bethany McGee? Did she deserve to be set on fire for being too deep in her empathy and letting empathy and emotion override common sense? Did she deserve it? Irina Zarutska, did she deserve to be stabbed in the neck by yet another multiple violent felon, let out yet again by another underzealous prosecutor because he's a member of a marginalized community, and to have it blamed again, just like the two Charlotte attacks, to have it blamed on a mental health crisis? Guys, we know what time it is. We know where we are in this culture, in this civilization. We know. Gad Saad, the guy who coined the term suicidal empathy, here's the lesson for these women that they can't get their heads around. The only thing that stops violent men from raping you and your society are other men who are equally willing to be violent in stopping those rapists. But the West, women included, and men, has decided that the highest virtue is to quietly comply with the destruction of your civilization, because to do otherwise is bigoted toward the rapists. It really is that simple. One would think that there would be some real men, but when the overwhelming majority of women hold that suicidally empathetic opinion, and you're overwhelmed in your culture with soy boys like this because no one's taught them masculinity in any way, shape, or form, well, then you can expect that their behavior is going to be reinforced even by the so-called men. Milady, I called some white guys heckin' fascists and told them their peepees were small on the internet. May I have but a crumb of that toy box for my bravery? Yeah, really brave, Sparky. Just like the bravery it takes to help the marginalized, just like the bravery it takes to take care of people who can't take care of themselves, because they don't really mean it when they tell you they want you dead. They don't really mean it when they say to your face that they hate you. They don't really mean it when they drop terms like sex offender due to negative impacts on sex offenders. They certainly don't mean it when they say, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. They certainly don't mean that. Thankfully, this video is not going to get monetized, because they would have pulled it just on that. Why? Because we're showing something that's really the truth and really happening, but they demonetize or pull the video because it's sexually explicit. It's not the sexual explicitness of it that they're bothered by. It's the truth. Just like the truth when we talk about what's going on in Europe. Turned out this was fact-checked and found to be false. Congolese migrant stabs French woman for refusing to undress for him during rape attempt. Not even enterprising enough as a rapist to tear her clothes off. He demanded she take her clothes off for him. Yeah, this was fact-checked and found to be false. Turns out it's false because he wasn't 10. He was 14. He lied on his asylum paperwork. Color me shocked. That's what bothers them, is the truth of this being outed. The truth of what's going on in Europe. These students who were forced, legally forced, to live in a complex alongside 125 refugees to aid their integration. Years of sexual assaults and violence. They don't want to talk about the truth of what's going on here in the United States, where this woman and her two assailants, that's right, kidnapped college student. They killed her in cold blood. You want to talk about standing on faith? In her last moments on this earth, she tried to talk these savages out of doing savage things by offering to pray with them. God bless her. And I know that her soul was received home. But again, there's just no convincing them. There's just no convincing them. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what kind of face women want to put on or how they want to be remembered. But here's the overwhelming, overarching narrative. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. And when the inevitable results happen, we don't feel safe. It's not us that are failing to protect you, ladies. We're trying to protect you preemptively, and you won't have one single bit of it. But we're going to continue to do what we do. We're not going to allow that to be the new face. We're not going to allow these faces to be the new face of American women of European descent. We're not going to allow that to be the new face. And maybe you find the alternative reprehensible, but we're going to continue to push for it. Start to resist or cease to exist. Am I being hyperbolic? I don't know. Am I? We got to figure out what we want that new face to be. Which way, Western woman? Couple of faces for you to choose from right there. Here's a hardcore reality that nobody really wants to talk about, but in the war to impose global Zimbabwe, we are all Rhodesians now. And the fact that you're an ally and the fact that you don't have a hateful bone in your body is not going to change your fate. And speaking of the new faces, the Democratic Party is no longer the Democratic Party. They are the hard left. I'm not going to play team sports with you people. We're talking about communists and Islamists. Should we take a look at relative body counts? They are the new face. This quote couldn't be more true. Historically, the two largest destroyers of life have been Islam and communism. The Democrats have embraced two of the deadliest ideologies in history. That is their new face. I'm not giving Republicans a pass. If you really think that's where I'm going, that woohoo Republicans and the Mango Menace is going to save us all, you haven't been paying attention. But we've got to embrace the reality for what it is. That is the new face of the left. And if you really want to look at that face, well, I'm going to bring it home with one of these because we haven't gone Orwell in a while. If that's really where it's headed, I'll remind you of that bit from Orwell talking about O'Brien and the Ministry of Truth as he's torturing Winston. If you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. I, for one, will stand in opposition. And on the day that I see you across the barricades, you can bet your ass that I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that this face is the last thing that you ever see. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors. And I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers, because I'm currently in between. But anyway, that one's for the sake of you docs happy Antifa maggots out there. Do your worst. You tried, you failed. In any case, the aforementioned opinions have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to choke you forcefully with fistful after fistful after fistful of truth cock into your eyes, either split open and bleed or open and see the light of that uncomfortable truth. And either way, mission accomplished. Welcome back, boys and girls. Time once again for the Sunday sermon. How you been? Yeah, gonna to be that kind of day. Glad you guys made it out. We're going to jump on into the roll call right here in just a second. Right now, I want to know where all the fire is. Where you at, people? In for the drum roll. Come on. Hard charging out of the starting gate as we come reeling and rocking damn near every single Sunday to the strains of Red Desert. Gut stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and crumbling ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. This week, I'm making no guarantees. It's a coin toss. Let's get it started with the roll call, though. We'll see who's on board. Check it out. Miss Carrie taking the gold, which means that Roman's got to be hanging around here somewhere. There we go. Taking the silver. I like it. I like it, Roman. It's a little, a little marital give and take there. With the wife take the gold, and you take the gold for a couple of weeks. Nice trade-off, man. I like that. There's some therapeutic applications to that. I think if we go with that rolling forward. But in any case, it's good to see you guys here. Brother Ryan on board. Good to see you, brother. God bless you. Hope you're being safe out there. The OG sinner sister herself, the divine Miss Emmy. Good to see you on board, sweetheart. Best for a Bartosphere cigar bar takeover. Okay, we can work on that. Emmy, let me get with you on dates because I got stuff going on in late September. I have an appointment with a certain Russian madman, and I need to get my dates squared away. Plus, I got a lot of other stuff going on. So let me coordinate with you on that, and we'll hopefully get it done. Brother Joel on board. Mike Stone. Good to see you, brother. Been a minute. I'm glad to have you out, brother. Glad to have you out. It has been a while, and it's always good when you make it out. Oh, man. OG Mike D in the house. How you doing, man? Sophie is the face. Never watched a game in my life until I saw Sophie stand up. Brother, I got to tell you, I'm right there in the ballpark with you, man. I was just like, WNB, like, why do I even care? Even when, Caitlin nearly had me for a second, but then when she came with that guilty ass, oh, I'm so sorry for my white privilege, and I was like, dude, tune right back out, not even interested. And then I got to watching Sophie, man. Sophie is like myrtleizing. Myrtleizing, is that a word? It is now. She's out there just myrtleizing bitches on this thing, man. I couldn't even believe it. It was crazy, and I was like, that is what we needed, man. That is the representation. She gonna stand firm, 10 toes down on business, and she ain't taking from nobody, man. And let's admit it, she's pretty damn hot, bro. I mean, yeah, right now, a couple of you out there like, yeah, coal burner, all right, whatever, feel about that how you want to feel about it. The woman's an athlete, bro. She's tough. What do we got? What same behaviors invaded hardcore music? It's a damn shame. Yes, absolutely. Right there with you on that one, Ryan. Let's see, man. Let's check it out. Okay, I think we got all the usual suspects on board. There's gonna be guys rolling in, so we're gonna keep it open. Roll up a little more of the bumper music. What do we got here? Check out Joel. He ain't kidding, man. Check out the Burden. Heavy duty, gut stomping, man, good stuff. Boy, Austin Haywire's doing big things. Right on, man. Good folks, man. I mean, that's some slamming. In fact, Joel, if you got Ryan's contact information, you got straight contact info, Ryan, send him some of the links you got with some of the music these guys are putting out. It's really, really fantastic. So anyway, yes, glad you guys made it out. We're going to go ahead and fade that on down. We need more tall blondes. Yes, we definitely need more tall blondes. Trying to bring back that bloodline and keep it alive, which of course is the problem with some of this stuff. Her selection could use some work, man. I'm just gonna call it for what it is. You guys feel about it however you want. I don't even care anymore. I'm done even remotely pandering to anything. You guys think of me how you want to think. Call me whatever you feel. I don't care, man. I don't care. We got to come forward, and we just got to speak uncomfortable truth here, or we're never going to solve any of the problems. Right now, I'm going to fade down the bumper music. Go ahead and get the sponsor shout outs out of the way so we can get on into this thing. Once again, guys, that is Red Desert. They are from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Just good straight ahead twos and fours rock and roll, man. Good aggressive stuff. I dig what they're laying down. Yeah, Red Desert, the name of the band, and Older No Wiser is the name of the track. And they've been letting me use that as bumper music, royalty free, since all the way back in 2020 when we started doing this crazy stuff. And sometimes I look back at that and just think, man, how have we stuck it out for 6 years? And I appreciate you guys definitely being that source of strength, and you guys that have given me the support over the years, which I'm going to thank a couple in person right now. First and foremost, one of my oldest and dearest friends, Brother Roman, who has been, again, a supporter of the program and a supporter of me personally. We go all the way back to 1988. We are talking about opiumtales.com, the erotic pinups and portraits people. You can find him as Roman Riva on Amazon. We're talking about beautifully done, tastefully done watercolor work of beautiful naked women and testosterone driven commentary on Planet Bart. We call that a trifecta. You can find him on Amazon. Roman Freely is the name of the collection of his watercolor work, and he's got short fiction available over there on Amazon as well. Roman Riva is how you're going to find him on Amazon, and you definitely want to check him out on Substack as well. Opium Tales at Substack. Go ahead and check out his commentary over there. He's doing a lot of live broadcasts over there. Really good stuff that he's laying it down. I envy his tenacity with regard to his Substack usage, and I'm trying to pick it up a little bit. Got a few more things out there, a few more things in the works. Little jammed up right now. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but it's nothing that I haven't overcome worse, and nothing that I will not find a way to overcome this time around. So it's trouble free, man. Heaven blessed means never stressed. That's the bottom line. And got to give a shout out to my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison, Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. Period. Full stop. Sit down. Shut up. You're wrong. They are the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. The Viking Longship, their big bad smoker trailer, is out sailing the asphalt seas. They are doing catering gigs. They are taking care of some of the people who are fighting these fires up there in Spokane. We're going to get into that more a little bit later on in the program as well. They're fine people, man. Damn good friends of mine. Dusty has largely taken over the pit master detail at this point. Casey has moved on to bigger and better things. He has passed the Washington State Bar. He is a practicing attorney in the state of Washington. I've got him on retainer. You should have him on retainer if you were in that part of the world. He is knocking them dead in the courtroom, man. And speaking of knocking them dead, which he did overseas for a little while, he's got a book that is called Freaks of a Feather, published by Latop Press out of Spokane, Washington. And it's an odyssey, brother. It is an odyssey, an amazing book. It is a combat memoir that began as a suicide note. What? Yes, a combat memoir that began as a suicide note. It is one of the heaviest war books you're ever going to read in your life, ever. One of the heaviest. And it's going to take you to some dark places. He's an incredibly gifted writer. Again, name of the book is Freaks of a Feather. Casey Tellison. You can find him on Amazon as well. Take care of the people who are taking care of the program. Take care of the people who have been taking care of me. Take care of the people who are taking care of this community that we're trying to put together here, man. Everybody got everybody's backs. When I say take care of yourselves and take care of each other, I mean that. That's coming from the heart. Why? Because nobody's coming to save us, bro. Nobody's coming to save us. You know? Hate to be getting back to some old school Onyx, but all we got is us. Yeah, true story. But bottle of liquid enthusiasm, Iron Infidel Battle Bottle, shameless plug, great piece of kit. It has hung by my side since 2021. Incredible piece of gear. My liquid enthusiasm on tap. So let's get rid of the dry mouth and jump on into this stuff, shall we? Couple of things I want to get into really, really quick. We're going to go into the scriptural study portion of the program. A couple of short verses and then a couple of things that I want to share with you guys about the larger point that we're trying to make here. The biblical element of this comes largely at the impetus of Brother Jeff Truitt. You know him on YouTube as Treasure Monk. You will see him in the comments from time to time when he makes it out for the sermon. And on his return to the faith, he suggested that since I have this platform, that maybe I should use it to throw in a little bit of Bible study. And it was largely his behest that I started doing a little bit of scripture stuff at the beginning of every sermon. Now, some people have taken that. Some people have taken that well. Some people not so well. There are people who are like, Bart, you're out of your depth, and they could be entirely right. They could be entirely right on that. I may very well be out of my depth. What I am speaking on is what I feel comfortable with talking about, and I'm never going to portray myself as some sort of divine authority. And in fact, in a roundabout way, the scripture that we're going to open with kind of speaks to that. This is St. John the Divine, the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 19, verses 9 and 10. Revelation 19:9, and he saith unto me, Right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, These are the true sayings of God. And what does John do? What does John do? And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. That's in Revelation chapter 19, right? Now, what's going on here? He's getting something that's heavy, that really resonates with him, and out of reflex, he's dropping to his knees and giving worship to the angel, right? He's dropping to his knees and giving worship to the angel. Now, why? Because that's an emotional reaction. That's an emotional reaction. And sometimes you get hit with emotional reactions. I was recently admonished to that effect, that emotional reactions can overwhelm your sense of discernment, right? Now, am I saying anything about that it's bad to feel something when you go into a church with the fire and brimstone and everything like that? No, it's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that you have to be on point with your discernment when you are getting these emotional reactions, when you're getting charged up. Am I really feeling the spirit here, or is this just me wanting to rage? That's something that I have to be aware of, and that's something that I have to be aware of from the far end of people hearing something that I say and taking it either out of context or letting too much into it. That I feel like I remind y'all enough, and I feel like y'all have enough discernment to know that, hey, man, I am not some exalted spiritual authority. I am speaking to what I am comfortable speaking. I am speaking with what I am comfortable with regard to my understanding of the word and specific parts of the word, which is why I stay on parts of the word that I feel like I've really delved deeply into, and I don't get off on a whole lot of esoteric stuff because that's not my wheelhouse, and I would be doing you guys a disservice. Do you understand? Everybody tracking where I'm at on that front? Later on in the book of Revelation, later on, chapter 22, John, again, having just been admonished, John, again, and I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I had heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel which showed me these things. And what happens again? Then saith he unto me, See thou do it not, for I am thy fellow servant and thy brethren, and of thy brethren the prophets, and of them which keep the sayings of this book. Worship God. Right? Y'all tracking on that? So basically what I'm trying to get across here from either end of the spectrum is, number one, when you're feeling charged up and you're feeling moved, take an extra second and really reach deep for that discernment to understand that this is how a lot of people get trapped by the prosperity gospel and the Osteens of the world. It's how they get tripped up with that. They're feeling energized and justified and pumped up that, hey, we're okay. We're okay. You don't need to fix anything. And they think that it's the spirit speaking to them. It's not, right? from the evangelical cast that I more or less align myself with. I wouldn't go so far as to say evangelical so much as charismatic, but again, we get into that set tripping discussion all day long. Am I down for that jump and shout for Jesus stuff? Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely down for that jump and shout for Jesus stuff. That's where I'm at. That's what resonates with me. But that puts the impetus on me to double down on my discernments. You understand? If I am feeling charged up about something, it needs to be coming from a place of spirit and not a place of a pep talk. You understand? And I don't ever, from my own accord, want to come across like that myself. I'm not trying ever to give you guys a pep talk, right? This isn't about a pep talk. I am just spitting with the best of my understanding how I'm reading the word, how I'm comparing the word to what I see going on in the world, and I'm spitting the truth for as best I'm able to discern it, right? So, just like John, don't be so quick when you feel that just to hit your knees and start worshiping, right? It could be, John was lucky it was an angel, right? John was lucky it was an angel that when he made that wrong move, he made that wrong move. Listen to what I'm saying here. He made that wrong move with the best of intentions. Y'all tracking? When he hit his knees, he was like, and his heart in his eyes, his heart was in the right place. This is to be worshiped. This is to be, this is to be, reveled in, all of that. But he was lucky enough that it was an angel that could be there to correct him. To whoa, 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 hey, John, get your ass up. What are you doing? What are you doing, bro? I appreciate you, John, but it's boss man, boss man. That's who you worship. I'm just delivering stuff. John was lucky. He had an angel. You know, I've been lucky to have people that are there to check me, to correct and point out things that I might not be looking at. If you guys are hearing these readings, I'm not going to pump my own pecker here, but there's a degree of luck there because I'm going to take the time to go, hey, listen, this is what I'm saying, this is what I'm not saying. I'm just delivering the word. And I will always come back to this. I am a human being. I am fallible. I am a wretched sinner just like the rest of you. You understand? I'm just a vessel doing my best to deliver the word, doing my best to touch hearts and to bring his children home. That's it. So, wanted to drop that. And while we're in the book of Revelation, let's talk about chapter 18. Babylon the Great is fallen. Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins. Chapter 18, 2 to 3, 2 to 4, actually, specifically. And he cried mightily with a strong voice. Let me get a sip here. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habituation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Fallen is Babylon the Great. A lot of different interpretations of that. Some people would say that the United States is a modern day Babylon. Some people would say that our servile, slavish adherence to the tiny hat mob have rendered us a modern day Babylon, regardless of how you may feel about Zionism you have to admit that by any reasonable definition, we have turned our face from God. Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. Well, if we're not completely fallen, we are well on our way, aren't we? We are definitely on the verge, and I would suggest squaring up your houses accordingly. With regard to spiritual matters, I would suggest squaring your house up. With regard to physical matters, I would suggest squaring your house up. Develop a recognition for all the horrible things that are going on around you. Recognize their enormity, recognize their gravity, and recognize the truth behind every event and what it says to you because of who you are. Are you tracking? Are you tracking? What do you mean? As a conservative, not every one of you are staunch conservatives. As a Christian, not all of you are Christians. Are we all Americans? Most definitely. Are we all patriots? That would depend on the definition, wouldn't it? If I were to come to each of you individually and say, do you consider yourself a patriot? I think most of you would quite correctly say there's a little bit of nuance there. Wouldn't you? You wouldn't be wrong in that. But there is a greater whole. There is an overarching narrative, an overarching regimentation, an overarching division between us and them as regards all of these important factors. Whether all of us are Christian, irrelevant. Whether all of us are patriotic, irrelevant. Whether all of us are conservative, irrelevant. Are all of us doing our best to walk in righteousness? I would say yes. If you're here, I mean, if you're watching one of my clips on here just looking for hate material, then maybe not. But if you're a friend or a fan and you're watching this, I would say that all of us are striving for righteousness as best we understand it. So what are you talking about? Well, as uncomfortable as it may be for a lot of you, um, males and females, largely Christian, largely conservative, but particularly of white European descent. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Did he really just say that? Well, I did. Um, and I'm going to pop this up real quick to further illustrate my point, because this is something that most people are very, very reluctant to touch on, and understandably so. This was a little cartoon that came up across that came across my feed this week, and some of you may have seen it when I posted it. The white supremacist rhino. I don't want me and my fellow white rhinos to die out, but there are other types of rhinos out there. I know, but I want to preserve my kind. And what's the reaction? Effing racist, white supremacist, bigot, xenophobe. And of course, the solitary tear from the white rhino. Now, why did this speak to me? You guys know that I love rhinos. You know that rhinos are, for lack of a better word, my spirit animal. I have always loved all species of rhinos. I've always loved, well, except for the Republican rhinos, that's a different spelling, a different beast altogether. But as far as rhinos, as understood on the African savanna, are concerned, always been I've always loved rhinos. I've really, really loved them. But here's the larger message that's going on here. Um, this white rhino doesn't want to go extinct. That's it. Now, are there other different kinds of rhinos out there? Yeah, sure there are. Sure. And if he goes extinct, they will still be out there. But he kind of doesn't want to see his kind go extinct. There's nothing hateful about that. There's nothing hateful about self-preservation. There's nothing hateful about self-defense. There's nothing hateful about self-determination. Could you imagine, just for a second, open your brains up real big. I want you to try to imagine any young black man walking up to you and saying, you know, black people have brought nothing to this world but hate and crime and rape and murder and all this other stuff. And they've been horrible for, you know, like our whole history is just littered with it. I can't wait until every one of us are extinct off the face of the planet. You would think, quite correctly, that there's some serious mental illness at work there, wouldn't you? But every single one of us who are watching this program right now have heard that exact thing from some white liberal college kid. Every one of us. If I'm wrong, you guys over here in the comments, you check me. If I'm wrong about that, I want you to check me. I don't believe that I am. I think every single one of us have heard that from one of our own at No siree, Bob. No siree, Bob. I've got the pharmaceutical stuff. I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that gas station stuff, brother. You always got to derail me, man. That's what I love about you, Ryan. You're just going to bring it back down a couple of notches. I'm getting a little, okay, I got you. I got you. White rhinos. Look at that. Yep, 15,700 considered near threatened. So yeah, here's what I'm saying, guys. There's nothing hateful about not wanting to go extinct, especially when people are out there and they're telling you point blank to your face that they want you dead. No, they don't actually say that. Yes. Yes, in fact, they do. Yes, in fact, they do. In fact, Francesca Hong, the Wisconsin Democrat who's running for governor of Wisconsin right now, has said that pretty much verbatim, imagining things about it. They cannot wait. And guys, I want you to find me one example of a nation in the history of the world where white people became a minority in a country and the group that became the majority didn't slaughter and subjugate them. Haiti, Rhodesia, South Africa, everywhere. Everywhere. So when you see people cheering this on, right, we are not advocating for hatred. And in fact, I'm going to pull something out of the hate playbook. Some of you, Joel and Ryan, I know, are familiar with this. The 14 words and the 88 precepts, right? The 14 words, which again, hateful, white supremacist, warmongering, kill everybody who isn't white, right? What do the 14 words say? Guys, we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. What's hateful about that? I'll wait. What's hateful about that? Well, it's not about the words, it's about their application. That means we want everybody else dead. No. Sorry. We didn't say any of that. We didn't say any of that. Malcolm X, what did he advocate for black Americans? George Lincoln Rockwell, the leader of the American Nazi Party, by the way, felt that Brother Malcolm was the rightful leader of black America, that Martin Luther King was a degenerate and a shill for Jews, all of which is factually correct, by the way, all of it. Martin Luther King is a horrible human being, besides being a plagiarist and a mock Christian and a whoremonger and an absolute degenerate By any reasonable definition, he was essentially a mouthpiece for a Jewish lobby for the NAACP. These are facts. Nothing I said there is hateful. But again, oh guys, you know where I'm going. You know what I'm about to reach for here. Where is it? Where is it? I know I got it here somewhere. Those are every one of those things are a hate fact. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. That doesn't mean I want to see everyone else dead. When they come at you with that rhetorical nonsense, throw this at them. Real easy. Stand up. Do you have children? You do. You have children. Okay. Do you love your children? Well, of course I love my children. Right. Okay. Oh, so that means you hate everybody else's children. The hell are you talking about? No, of course not. But you love your children more than you love someone else's children. In the sense of worst case scenario, you love your children more than you love other people's children. That's where they'll usually start the hemming and hawing thing. Well, no, all children, everyone, every person, especially the halfway Christians, they love that part. Well, every child is a child of God, and it's not right for me to say that I love my children more than someone else's children because they're all children and children. No, stop. Stop. You love your children more than you love other people's children, and there isn't a damn thing wrong with that. In fact, if you don't love your children more than you love other people's children, get help. There's something seriously wrong with you, either with your psychology or your moral compass. But for the love of God, stop apologizing for not wanting to be extinct. Please stop. Please stop. And stop acting as if every single one of these things isn't a systematic, calculated effort to push us right out of the pages of history, because it certainly is. A lot of people aren't comfortable talking about that. I understand. But if we don't get comfortable talking about that, then down the line, the repercussions are going to be much, much more severe. Now, before we go any further, just a couple of things. I want to go because we still haven't completely come out of the biblical portion of the program yet. We're still inside the first hour. Barsinophis. And for my ortho bros, please, if I am mispronouncing that name, don't hold it against me. Barsinophis. You need not be despondent. Let those be despondent who do not believe in God. For them, sorrow is burdensome, because besides earthly enjoyment, they have nothing. But believers, through sorrows, receive the right of sonship to enter the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice. Rejoice. Because every trial that you face, getting back to the persecution that we talk about on the program often, we're not persecuted yet. Nowhere close. It will come. Believe me, it will come. It's on its way. Stay tuned, inbound, but we're not there yet. Rejoice. Rejoice. When I listened to Nate Schatzline giving his presentation at FreedomCon at the Gorge a while back, he mentioned that a military guy that he knew, every time something bad would happen, everything from stubbing a toe to having a gun jam to, having his car break down, to, any hardship that would come his way, he responded with 3 words: what an honor. I like that. What an honor. No black pills, guys. No black pills. Now, again, this is coming from my ortho bros here. All right. That's not for everybody, but I believe there's a lot of wisdom in that. Even if you don't walk in the faith, realize the difference that he's trying to illustrate here. The ones who don't believe in God, it's understandable that they are despondent, because of outside of this earth, they got nothing. They got nothing. Everything to them is measured by the next dopamine hit, the next orgasm, the next good time versus bad time. Rejoice, guys. Every adversity, because you know what? You've all come out the far end of it, and you've all been stronger on the far end. You want adversity? A lot of y'all think, dude, I got nothing in the way of adversity compared to some people that I know that are watching this program right now. I got nothing in the way of that. And I know easier said than done. Believe me, I know easier said than done. Just some guiding words to put out there. And a couple other things I want to toss out while I'm here. 2 things, specifically because what I just pulled was from Orthodoxy. A lot of that set tripping between my ortho bros and my princes of the papacy and my Protestant buddies. We can jerk around about doctrinal differences later and about apostolic lineages later and about our leanings, specific things later. But in the meantime, I'm not judging. Why? Because this graphic right here, we are at war, but not with each other. Not with each other. Not now. Not now. We don't have that luxury, man. We don't. And we're all entitled to be wrong. As a Protestant, as a charismatic, oh, I get the objections. Believe me, I do. The ones who are having problems with the papacy right now, I understand those issues. I get it. We ain't got time. Not right now. Not a luxury that we can afford. All right. Now, one last thing that I want to touch on right here before I get over here. None of this is coming from an elevated position of morality, any holier than thou. Before you go slagging, and it actually plays into this a little bit, because there are a lot of people who will come at that from a position of not righteousness but self-righteousness, standing on doctrine but not grasping the larger context. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to before I get judgy with things like that. The one thing that checks me, even somebody like Judas. Judas, the universal symbol for betrayal. And this popped up in my feed the other day. I have betrayed him for much less than 30 silver. Every one of us, those of us in the faith, every one of us at one time or another have betrayed him for far less than 30 pieces of silver. So let's keep ourselves in that frame of reference before we get too hardcore in our judgments. Also wanted to show you guys some things. There is a lot of really, really great artwork out there. And some of this stuff, when I was going through show prep, I was just taking a look at some of these things that had popped up in my feed. Some of the artwork is older and classic, and some of the stuff is very, very current. But whether you're in the faith or not, this stuff hits, bro. Gustave Doré. You guys familiar with Gustave Doré? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. This is Gustave Doré's depiction of the crucifixion. I have my big Bible at the house. You guys excuse me for just a second here. I have at the house a very large Bible. It's the home Bible. It's the tabletop Bible, and the illustrations are all by Gustave Doré. Albrecht Dürer, another artist from way back in the day, his depiction of the crucifixion. And a little more up to date that I wanted to drop on you before we get on to the rest of this stuff. Simon Beasley. You guys familiar with Biz? You guys familiar with Simon Beasley? He's best known for the comic book character Lobo and some of the other Johnny von Bodman, who you know from my page, another dear old friend of mine and last surviving witness to a lot of my worst horror stories, knows the comic world a hell of a lot better than I do. But Beasley's mostly known for Lobo, but he recently did a biblical series, and I say recently because it was out of print pretty much as quick as it was in print, and I snatched it up very, very quickly. It's hard to find now, but if you can find it and you can find it for under $100, grab it. We are talking heavy, man. We are talking visceral. Why am I moved by visceral things? I'm moved by visceral things because they resonate at a deep, deep level, right? Because I'm fairly thick-skinned. Milk toast stuff doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't. But in terms of visceral, just the story of the crucifixion should carry the weight. But if you guys are looking for artwork, this is just stuff that I wanted you guys to have a chance to check out. Again, Gustave Doré, um, Albrecht Dürer, and Dürer's stuff was primarily wood cuttings, by the way. So as detailed as this is, a lot of it is wood cuttings. And then, of course, very recently, Simon Beasley, comic book artist, doing his Bisley's Bible, I believe it was called, or Bisley's interpretations of the Bible. Not sure exactly, but heavy stuff. Very, very heavy stuff. All right. So now that we gotten through all that, um, shoot, man. What do we even say? I'm not going to dig any deeper down that rabbit hole with regard to Sophie and Caitlin, except to tie it in to what we were just discussing versus standing strong on principle, no matter how uncomfortable it makes people. Let's call that what it is, all right? We both know why Caitlin got trashed and beat up from the minute she came into the league. Why? Because she's a pretty white girl that's running hoops around, running literal hoops around a league that is made up almost exclusively of black lesbians. There's every reason in the world for them to hate her and to want to hurt her, and they did. Getting back into, there is nothing hateful about not wanting to go extinct. There is nothing hateful about not wanting to be beaten for your excellence. There's nothing hateful about not wanting to be beaten because your strength throws somebody else's weakness into a starker contrast. There's nothing hateful about that. And we're all at a point right now to where it's like it doesn't matter. That's going to be the accusation regardless. It's going to be the accusation regardless. No matter how much you apologize, how much you prostrate yourself, no matter how much you bow down at the altar of diversity, it's never going to be enough. They hate you. They hate you for 400 years of the Middle Passage. They hate you for Jim Crow. They hate you for whatever bad thing happened to their life. They hate you because their dad took off for cigarettes for a pack of Newports and never came back. They hate you. Doesn't matter why. There's no fixing that. Scott Adams had it totally correct. There's no fixing that. Does that mean hate them back? Why? Why? There's nothing hateful about self-preservation. Caitlin apologizing, absolutely ridiculous. And she paid for it. She paid the price. A lot of people were really lining up behind Caitlin when she was getting mauled and beaten and fouled every time she turned around. A lot of people really rallied behind her cause. A lot of people were oh, that poor girl, look at what they're doing to her. That's terrible. And they really felt sorry for her. And they should have, because it wasn't justified. What they were doing to her was unspeakable. All for the sake of she's better than them and she's straight and she's white. But the minute she stepped up and mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, she lost every bit of that. And she should have. Absolutely should have. I don't feel a damn bit sorry for her now. Not at all. Not at all. As we went over in the opener, your empathy getting you into trouble does not mean that you deserve it. However, once those results are made manifest and clear to you, to continue in that behavior, you are meeting your assailant halfway. Take some accountability. Stand. Refuse to apologize. The people who count will respect you for it. The other side, they're never going to respect you regardless. They're never going to respect you regardless. Oh man, I wish I had pulled up that quote. Doggone it. I'll find it here in a second, maybe. Now, once Sophie started getting beaten on, right? That classic finger point, that was beautiful, man. That was beautiful. The way that she called out that behavior, it's just like, watch this. Was it, that's so juvenile, was it? Look at the point that she made. Watch how easy it is. Watch how easy it is to make you act like freaking animals. Watch. I'm just going to point at you. I'm not doing anything violent. I'm just pointing at you and watching them absolutely spaz. She hasn't backed down from anything, and she's not about to. And God bless her for that. Absolutely, God bless her for that. When she came out against men in women's sports, when she came out against biological men participating in women's sports, she didn't pull any punches there either. None. You going to call her racist and hateful? Last I checked, she was dating black guys. Sometimes standing on principle is just standing on principle. Sometimes speaking the truth is just speaking the truth. Again, I don't plan on going any further with that. Here's the fact check. She acknowledged that, this is Caitlin again, she acknowledged that being a white person in the WNBA afforded her a level of privilege, stating that the league was built on the contributions of black players. What? What? Nobody cared about the WNBA until she showed up. The minute she punked out, people went right back to not giving a damn about the WNBA until Sophie showed up. Good on her for that. God bless her. So let's get into the important stuff, shall we? I'm about done talking about women's sports. Suicidal empathy, Pollyanna judges, and mental health. This is worth talking about because of what happened in Charlotte this week. Did you guys follow it? Did you see? I've got a few of the bullet points pulled up here. Career criminal chasing women now. What is his name? So predictable. Dequan Shafar Hunt, 32-year old man. He was live streaming this. He was absolutely live streaming this. I'm wondering if I can download this image. I'm gonna give it nope, WEP. Not gonna let me download it. The first woman, he chases her out in the street. This guy's 6 feet tall, 220 pounds. The first woman, he chases out into the street. She's running for her life. Nobody intervened. All those cars passing by, nobody intervened. Well, Bart, you have to understand people are reluctant to get involved because it might have been a domestic, and even cops don't want to get involved in domestics. Weak. Weak. Primarily for the white Christian men out there, definitely weak. The halfway Christians, well, I was hesitant to get involved because no, 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 no. You're hesitant to get involved because you're afraid of being regarded as a bigot. You see a black man chasing a white woman into traffic, and rather than recognize that this is a bad situation, that this woman is in fear for her life and serious danger for her life, that it's not your problem because you don't want to be a bigot. It is your problem. It is your problem, and damn you for a coward. Punk. Weak ass. Coward. If we don't care about our own people, you can't expect anybody else to. Nobody's coming to save us. And yes, is it a fact that this woman likely voted for all of this? Yes. Yes, it is. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. She voted Democrat straight ticket. Guaranteed. She thought being one of the good ones would save her. It won't. The second woman who was physically assaulted. Okay, here's the woman in the black dress was the one that got chased out into traffic. The woman that you see lying down in the purple, I'm going to call that purple. It might be pink or whatever. But look at the frame. He's live streaming this while it's happening. This woman was walking down the street carrying balloons like she was on her way, and for all I know, may have been on her way to some kid's birthday party. That's why I wish I could download the other one to show to you. That other picture where she literally waved at him. He's live streaming, and as he's walking down the street, 6 foot, 220-pound black guy being noisy and all over and I don't want him to think I'm a bigot. He punched her in the face. Then after she goes flat on her back on the ground, continued to punch her in the head until she was concussed. Bro, go watch that video. Any of you guys that are over here who have been around, and Ryan, I know you've been around people getting knocked out. Joel, you've been around people getting knocked out. Roman, you've been around people getting knocked out. If y'all have seen the video, you tell me I'm wrong. Look at this. Dude. Tom, I wish you'd have been here earlier. We were talking about the discrepancies between the papacy and the ortho bros and us Protestants who are just wrong in everybody's eyes. I wish you would have been here. Yeah, Tom, you've been around people getting knocked out. That was terrible, man. Go back and watch that video. Go back and watch that video. She was one more shot from dead. Concussed. Pupils blown. Twitching. Making what I call the death snore. You guys have heard of where they're not really conscious, but their body's like fighting for oxygen. I call it the death snore. It's not like the death rattle. It's a different. You guys that have been around it, you know. Did she vote for this? Probably. Does that mean she deserves it? Not in my opinion. No. No, it does not. And even if she did, I cannot, in good conscience, allow our women. What do you mean our women? You know exactly what I mean by our women. Women of either Asian or white European descent who are Christian, to include Catholics and Orthos. You know exactly what I mean. We cannot just let this happen to our women, in spite of the suicidal empathy that drives them to continue to vote for this. We have a responsibility to protect them, even as they're interfering with that very same protection. It is a moral imperative that we have. You may disagree. You were entitled to disagree. But as for me, I believe it is our moral imperative as Christian men to protect our women, to protect them from the Muslims who see them as nothing more than spoils of war, to protect them from, yes, I'll say it, the urban youth of the black community who victimize them at inordinate rates. Their lack of threat recognition complicates things for us. It does not take the moral imperative off of us to protect them. And I understand, believe me, how frustrating it is to be involved with someone who refuses to see the threat. Whether they are a family member or a friend or a coworker or a spouse or whatever, I understand how frustrating that is. Doesn't take the moral imperative off of us. We have a responsibility to protect our women. Yeah, Tom, you're right. His own family. So why? Why? And I'm glad that you brought that up, Tom, because it leads me to the next thing. Let me get Mike real quick. As an ortho, I've been impressed with one goal: ignore other and worry about your own heart. Yes, yes, absolutely. Dude, no, you know what? You know what, Tom? I saw that discussion getting ready to happen on that thread, and I stepped out, man. I stepped out because I saw that he was like, "No, you're entitled to be wrong." And I saw Carissa come back with what she said, and then I jumped in. I said, "Hey, man, I'm wrong too." And then I thought about it. And I'm like, "Wait a minute, dude, I'm wrong for both of these guys." It's like the Catholics and the Orthos think I'm freaking retarded. So maybe I'm just going to sit back and stay out of this one. But yeah, no, dude's own family had been petitioning for years to get him locked up for good, of course. So why? So why? The exact same suicidal empathy. What are you talking about? I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about. I am talking about the I am talking about the activist judges and prosecutors. Let's start with this one. This story from Conservative Modern. DEI Queen, Virginia Dems past embrace of far left prosecutors unearthed, and it just keeps coming out. These leftists keep nominating and putting into place these judges, these prosecutors, these DAs that are hell bent to not prosecute anything, to turn these savages back on the streets. Just return them. No sentence. My priest said to me, he who wins souls is wise. Thank you. Yes, of course. Doctors and lawyers, scientists and engineers. Yes. Their entire, I'm familiar with Occam and Hanlon having a razor fight. At some point, incompetence no longer justifies the level of ineptitude that is required. At some point, we have to come to the inescapable conclusion that this is deliberate. What would they have to gain? Some people just want to watch the world burn. Every single facet of these people, they are sworn to the dismantling of the United States. They are sworn to the dismantling of the West. In their textbooks, in their writings, in the things that they teach, in their university classes to these college educated leftists, every single thing, we have to take them at their word. When they say we want to destroy Western civilization, I think they want to destroy Western civilization. When they say, as Bill Maher pointed out in his program, we want to seize the means of production, I think they want to seize the means of production. When they say we want white people dead, I think they want white people dead. Tom, you can help me out with this one. Well, let's see what you have to say here. Primary issue is there aren't large enough systems to handle the volume of mentally incompetent. We did, but a Hollywood actor abolished that system. And yes, you're absolutely correct in that. Absolutely correct in that, Tom. We never should have shut down the institutions, and we need to bring them back. But it'll never happen now. It won't. Because the radical left has seen that there's too much to be gained by anarcho-tyrannical sentencing standards. Why would you commit them to mental institutions if them being out on the street creating chaos demoralizes your political enemies? They're far more useful out on the street. So how do we get it back? Well, let's get into another unpleasant point of discussion. They're going to have to be killed. Gee, Bart, that's not a very Christian thing to say. Miss me with that. Miss me with that. Of all of the broad categories of horrendous sins that are spoken of by all of the prophets, that are spoken of in the Gospels, there are adulterers, there are fornicators, there are cowards. Cowardice. Cowardice is right up there at the top of the heap. When I see that woman being chased into traffic and I hear people honking their horns instead of pulling the hell over, getting out and doing something, anything, I'm repulsed. I want to vomit blood. As cliched as it might be, eventually good men are going to have to do bad things. And that means killing these people. Oh, what? You're gonna leave it to the justice system to handle for you. It's not getting done now. What do you think is going to happen in a couple of years when they get their hands back on the switch? Don't get blackpilled about this, guys. It's very simple. They have told us point blank what they plan to do, and they will continue with these policies. So we can either roll over and play dead while being called bigots and racists and hateful, violent extremists, or we can do something while being called bigots and hateful and violent extremists. Either way, the public perception is going to be exactly the same. We've already seen that there's no amount of prostrating yourself before these people that makes a damn bit of difference. None. None. They don't care. They hate you. They hate you because you're white. They hate you because you're Christian. Tom, you get honorary white boy today. But Tom, yeah, I meant to get back to that. Tom, you remember that 17 seconds or so when Stop Asian Hate became a hashtag? You remember that? There was the shooting. This was in 2020. There was the shooting where the white kid went into the Asian massage parlor and shot a bunch of hookers. I'm sorry, massage therapist, shot a bunch of hookers, and it turned into a thing. Now, even though it was straight up not about them being Asian, it was about him being screwed in the head and not being able to deal with his lust problem in a constructive way, it turned into Stop Asian Hate. And for about 17 seconds there, they got very, very concerned about hate crimes against Asians, because they had a white guy that did it. And then they figured out at the end of that 17 seconds or so that almost without exception, every hate crime committed in a blue city against an Asian of any persuasion was committed by blacks. Suddenly, hashtag Stop Asian Hate wasn't a thing anymore. It's only a thing if it fits the narrative. Asians no longer get a break from the left. In fact, Asians have been singled out by the left. Why? Because the war is not against necessarily just whitey. The war is against excellence. What has built the West? Excellence, meritocracy, strength, family cohesion, a work ethic, low violent criminality. These are all traits of the Asian community in much the same way that they used to be with white Europeans and still are largely. But the minute it became evident, what happened? They stopped using the word Asian when they started prattling on about minorities. When people of color, black, indigenous people of color. They quit saying Asian. Why? Because Asians were outperforming whitey by every measure. And suddenly they actually began to deride the Asian community, that you guys were our token minority, that we took you on as friends so we wouldn't appear to be racist. And now you guys have just gotten white adjacent. You guys remember that? But we all know. We all know what's really going on, don't we? It's the excellence that they're afraid of. Trust me, if every white European disappeared off the face of the United States tomorrow, they'd be coming after the Asians next. I'm going to tell you something, guys. You guys know, in my misspent youth, I ran with a very hardcore stiff arm salute crowd. I'm going to tell you something, guys. The hardest of the hardcore stiff arm salute guys, if you pull them off to the side and you talk to them, they've got a soft spot for Asians. Get out of here. I'm not kidding. Why? Because those are the only two bloodlines in world history that have ever produced sustainable civilizations. True story. And you know what I love the most? Right? I mean, they can try. Yeah, I know, Tom. I think about rooftop Koreans a lot. Every time. Right? Thank you, Roman. Yep. Never ever met a white supremacist who didn't like me. Right? Present company included. um. Um. Yeah. No. I should point that out. Yeah. Roman's not white. I know all the hateful racists on my page are suddenly not going to like Roman anymore. Mike, then again, they are just right, right. Yes, yes, you're right. I saw an article. What is this, Tom? I just saw an article calling for Asians to stop killing blacks. I'm a little confused by that. Asians killing blacks. You want to know why, Tom? Because of one incident. That one incident that happened where a black kid, I want to say it was South Carolina. He went into a store and stole a bunch of stuff, and the store owner chased him outside. The kid pulls a gun. The store owner pulled a gun and shot the kid, and that turned into a big thing. They hate Asians because y'all are exploiting the black community and all the every other damned excuse we've heard from mediocrity and everything else. Ultimately, guys, if we just start speaking truth, no matter how uncomfortable that truth is, if we just start spitting facts, this goes away. But in the meantime, we've got to deal with the suicidal empathy of these female judges. And again, it's white liberal female judges every damned time. They continue to do this. The guy that killed Irina Zarutska, look at this. This guy, how many, okay, Irina Zarutska murder, how many priors? If you guys just bear with me here, how many priors? Boom. 14 prior criminal cases in Mecklenburg. 2015 conviction for robbery with a dangerous weapon, breaking and entering, already served, 14 previous court cases and arrest, 6-year prison sentence, and turned loose, and mental adjudication after mental adjudication after mental adjudication. It's always mental health. That's the fallback plan. Once they get to a certain level of criminality that even the equity-based sentencing can't work around, they say, "Oh, he's just crazy. Send him to the puzzle factory for a couple of weeks." I mean, all he did was beat an elderly woman within an inch of her life. He's no threat to society. Give him a mental eval. Send him to the puzzle factory for a couple of weeks. Turn him loose. He'll be fine. This guy that just beat these two women, or I'm sorry, wanted to beat two women, only got to beat one in Charlotte, as Tom pointed out, his own family had been trying to get him locked up, but they refused to do it. Why? Because they're not interested in the outcome. This is Hanlon and Occam in a razor fight. It is a very real, systematic effort. If you want a more comfortable word, to call it a conspiracy, we can run with that. But it's not a conspiracy in the sense of some star chamber of white liberal judges all plotting on their phones around a round table in a Zoom call. The nefarious intent: we shall bring down the white Europeans by turning the black folk loose in the cities. It's not like that. What it is a whole lot of people with those similar motivations. They all have the same idea: whitey bad, West bad, America bad. Destroy. And when you have Soros and organizations like that, when you have USAID and the way that they work through the NGOs, have you guys noticed? This is something I said, Ryan, hold me to this if you're still here, or Mike too, because you were here. In the early days of the sermon, I brought up, how is it that they keep pushing this leftist ideology through Hollywood and entertainment? How can they continue to do this when these movies keep losing money? Why are they pushing this? It's a profit making enterprise. And I could not figure it out. And then came Doge and the USAID thing. Suddenly it tracked. That's where all the money's been coming from. Guys, go and investigate. There is a very clear pattern. Once USAID got dissolved and all this mysterious money getting farmed out to all these NGOs suddenly dried up, all of a sudden, Kimmel's running into trouble. His show gets canceled. Colbert runs into problems. His show gets canceled. Blamed on the Mango Menace, of course, but we all know what's going on here. Suddenly, there's not a single rap song in the top 100. All of these things have been artificially propped up by all of the money that was going into USAID. Once it evaporated, and that was the end of that. What do I mean by all of this? What I'm ultimately coming to is the fact that this is going to come roaring back with a vengeance. That we right now are on a 2 to 4 year stay of execution. The midterms, we're going to get crushed. And I want to be abundantly clear, just because the left have overwhelmed the Democratic Party does not mean that the GOP is by default good. They're not. Right? Yep, you're right, Ryan. Tiny hat people. Yeah. The GOP isn't good by any stretch of the imagination. They're feckless, they're gutless, they're spineless. And the Mango Menace that a whole lot of people, myself included, put a lot of hope into, sold his balls, his spine, and his soul at the Wailing Wall. So now we got that to contend with. There will be no coalition. There's not enough pushback on the hard left by their own party. They're going to sweep into power, and there's not a coalition to bring it together on the right anymore. The outcome is all but inevitable. Let's go ahead and get our heads around this. We're going to lose one, if not both houses in the midterms, and in all likelihood, we could lose the Oval in 28. This leaves us with a couple of years, guys. A couple of years. Now, what does this have to do with all the other things? In the meantime, all of this is going to continue to litter our streets. They're going to continue with this agenda of turning these criminals loose, and the violent crime is going to continue. They are going to come up with another racial incident, just like the fentanyl Floyd riots, and they are going to push to have that happen again. It's going to happen, guys. Let's go ahead and get our heads around that and just familiarize ourselves with it. Am I cheering that on? Of course not. Would I like to be wrong? Certainly I would, but I'm not. The progressive DAs are going to continue not to prosecute. Once they take control over these different districts, they are going to double up on putting more progressive DAs. The playbook for communists is always the same. Always the same. Just like the playbook for Muslims is always the same. We have to get familiar with saying things that aren't comfortable for a lot of people to say, which is white Europeans have created the greatest civilization in the history of the world. That is the West. We have to get comfortable with saying that not all civilizations and cultures are created equal, that ours is far superior to anything that the third world has ever produced. We've got to get comfortable saying that. But that's so hateful. Hateful to who? Hateful to who? Some feckless, nutless little college educated whipping boy who hates himself because he's been taught to hate himself? Who cares? We've got to get comfortable speaking truths that are uncomfortable for people to speak, up to including clip that. We have got to get comfortable speaking uncomfortable truths in spite of the fact that they are uncomfortable. And in fact, because they are uncomfortable, they must be spoken. Not the least of which is that there is nothing hateful about self-preservation, self-defense, and self-determination for one's culture, one's blood, one's ethnicity, and one's faith. There's nothing hateful about not wanting to be driven to extinction. If that concept is too complicated for you, then I'd suggest you remove yourself from the discussion. But there will come a day where we will be forced to remove you from the gene pool. See you across the barricade, Sparky. I wonder sometimes why I waste my time. I really do. I wonder. Because all I'm speaking to here is, I'm preaching to people who are already converted for the most part. I know you guys already know, but I have the hope that with some of these short clips getting traction, that some of these things might come to light. I have a hope that with the short clips getting traction, someone might recognize that one of these progressive judges in the state of Florida turned loose a rapist, knowing that they were a rapist, and within a day, they raped another 5-year-old. Here's an idea, guys. You stick with me on this. You tell me if this idea's got legs. I'm thinking about doing another fan page, and I haven't got a title for it yet. It's just an idea that I'm kicking around. Because I've got progressives in my life that no matter how many receipts you bring them, it's, well, that's just an extreme, or that just doesn't really get whatever. I'm thinking about doing a channel that is nothing but these things. And I'm thinking about calling the channel Every Single Day, or something involving every single day, to where literally we can pound them over the head with this stuff. Today, it happened again in Charlotte. Today, they did the rape thing again in Florida. Today, Jihad Johnny did this in California. Oh, look, today, there was a gang rape by Muslims in London. Oh, look, today, over and over and over again, so they can know what it's like to live in the world that we inhabit. It must be such bliss to be so willfully blind as to ignore the predicament that you're in. It's got to be bliss. I envy them that. I wish I had it, but I don't. How can I maintain upbeat positivity in this? Because I walk in the light of Christ. As contradictory as that all may seem to some people, if it were not for my faith, I likely would have already gone active shooter. Because I'm not wired to watch God's highest expression on this planet slide into slow oblivion, while half of the people that stand to lose the most sit back and cheer it on. To do so is weakness, to do so is cowardice, and maybe me being able to speak about it is the one thing that keeps my head straight. One last thing that I want to get into before we get out of here today is just a little something that, and it's not every time, guys. I've broken from the conspiracy crowd on a whole lot of things. Okay? Why? Because sometimes, again, Occam and Hanlon having that razor fight, not every damn thing is a conspiracy. Monsters walk among us. They are leftists. They are Muslims. They are third world predators. And they walk among us as if they were human. And unfortunately, sometimes the conspiracy mob accidentally winds up exonerating some of these monsters. Case in point, what's going on in my hometown right now in Spokane? There are fires. And yes, I'm aware of what happened in Maui. And yes, I'm aware of what happened in California. And yes, I'm familiar with directed energy weapons and all the paint your roof blue stuff. And that'll keep you safe from Jewish space lasers and all the other things. I'm aware that these programs exist. I'm aware of what they're capable of. I'm also aware that not every damn fire is a Jewish space laser. That sometimes maggots gonna maggot. We got a guy, leftist maggot scumbag in Spokane, that confessed to waiting until the day where the weather conditions, he'd been keeping track of weather for weeks to find the days that the ability to spread that fire was going to be maximized, and set multiple fires in multiple locations at that day. And he did not act alone. The return on investment for fire is greater than for any other domestic terrorist activity. With an active shooter, if you're really good, you get one body for every 2 or 3 rounds. With fire, you can destroy hundreds of lives with a match and a can of gasoline this big. And for these maggots, these leftists, these Muslims, these people who are sworn to the destruction of the West, what better way than by torching it and burning it to the ground? But no. The leftist, and I'm hearing conservatives say this. Oh, that leftist man, that Antifa dude that set all those fires. What, you mean in Spokane? No, man, the other ones. Oh, you mean Canada? Oh, no, there's other one. Oh, in California? No. The ones in France. Everywhere. That these left-wing extremists and Muslims have been caught setting fires. Nah, bro. You're going grazer on me, bro. Nah, man, it was directed energy weapons, bro. How does this thing burn to the ground, but like these trees over here, bro, are like totally clean and cut, and they didn't even scorch, bro, but the house like burned to the ground. That's space lasers, bro. It's space lasers. Great. Great. And the guy that they caught with the gasoline and the accelerants and the weather maps and the plan and the manifesto and the, oh wait, confession. Yeah, bro, he's the fall guy, dude. He's the fall guy. He's a patsy like Oswald, bro. Nah, man, it's, bro. What do you even do with that? I understand that there are irregularities with certain items. The Charlie Kirk assassination, for starters. I do not believe that that guy acted alone. I am aware, abundantly aware, that there were multiple actors involved with that. But we're going to act as if every incident of left-wing extremism is somehow just them being the fall guy for the Tiny Hat Mafia and the Jewish Space Laser Brigade. Sometimes, open your mind real big here, sometimes monstrous human beings with monstrous ideologies do monstrous things. Sometimes tiny hats are involved, and sometimes not. But for the love of all that is holy, could we stop assuming that every single incident has a Star of David behind it, and that the patsies just happen to be left wing and Muslim every single time? Oh, I've gone grazer now because I don't recognize the all-powerful puppeteers of the BB Bunch. Bro, I've been on that tip longer than some of you have been alive. So you don't get to sit there from your comfy social media feed and tell a guy who was present on the ground at Waco in 1993, who was 1 week away from the Oklahoma City bombing in 95, and who has been neck deep in research on everything from Ruby Ridge to the Twin Towers for longer than you've been alive, that when I point out, hey man, maybe you didn't think this one all the way through, maybe, just maybe, maggot's gonna maggot, that somehow I've lost the plot. Your need to put things in specific little easily identified containers is letting horrible people be exonerated for doing horrible things. But dealing with that is going to require, I don't know, reflection, or the thought that maybe, just maybe, you could have been wrong. I'm willing to entertain that prospect. Whenever y'all come around to that, hit me up. In the meantime, I am going to be putting my body, my mind, and in fact, my soul to work fighting the enemy that has had the kindness to tell me straight to my face that he wants me dead. And I'm going to take him at his word. But by all means, bust out that telescope and find me that Jewish space laser fella. You couldn't be off base. You're the internet pro. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. We got real enemies out here, people. Real enemies. That are nice enough to tell us point blank to our faces. We got real enemies out here who are kind enough to tell us straight to our faces that they hate us and they want us dead. The women say, no, they really don't mean it until they're raped and killed. The men say, oh, they really don't mean it. It's Jewish space lasers. Occam and Hanlon in that razor fight, they both win. And we come away bleeding. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Heavenly Father, temper my wrath, calm my nerves, focus my energies. We got way more important stuff. The enemy's not at the doorstep, he's inside the gates, Lord. And I hope that these folks get their heads together. I hope that these folks have the guts and gumption to speak uncomfortable truths. I hope that these guys have the basic instinct of self preservation. And I hope that they'll have the good sense to turn their faces back to you and see that the ways of the world have gotten us into this mess, and the ways of the world are not going to be the one to get us out. Help us to reflect, each one of us, on ourselves first and foremost. All the things in ourselves that we need to fix about ourselves before we go steering it onto the outside world. And of those many sinners, of whom I am chief, I thank you for your grace and your mercy and the forgiveness bought through the blood of your Son at Golgotha. Meantime, Lord, we stand up and ready for the fight. However the enemy decides to manifest, whether it's in flesh and blood or whether those powers and principalities the book of Ephesians talks about, we stand ready to meet him on the battlefield. And as King David said in the Psalms, we stand ready to break the teeth of the enemy. However you choose for us, Lord, we stand ready to serve. Here I am, Lord, send me. And I know that I can speak for everybody else out here who's right there in that pocket, Lord, whether they're walking in the light of your truth or not. They stand ready to face that same common enemy. Give us the discernment to recognize the enemy when he's right there in our faces, and the strength and courage to stand boldly in the face of it. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. I love y'all. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, got a little rock, got a little off kilter. I am just really, really, really up to here, man. I'm just up to here. And Ryan, all those conversations that we're always having, and man, like sometimes I just wish, man, could we just get it on already? Could we just get it on already? When I say to you, Ryan, I feel you. Sometimes I don't know if you believe me. I hope after that last little rant, you feel me. I hope you believe me because I do, man. There are days that go by where I'm like, bro, where I want to go. I want to go set something on fire just to bring it on and bring it to the damn fight. Because this waiting is driving me nuts. And the thing that I keep coming back to is this is God giving me the privilege of time to get my fat, old, crippled body and my deteriorating skill sets back where they need to be. That's the only sense I can make of it. God bless all of you for being here, man. I'm gonna pass that digital collection plate around, guys. You guys already know. And look, you know what, guys? I'm not gonna bullshit. I'm in dire straits right now. I'm in pretty dire straits. I had a claim get denied, and while my lawyer is processing that, I'm out of pocket substantially. So I'm gonna pass that digital collection plate around. Any help that you could throw my way. The new gig is supposed to start in about a week ish. We'll see how that rolls. But in the meantime, between time, I'm going to pass the digital collection plate around. However, you guys, if you want to kick down, I'm on PayPal, I'm on Cash App, I'm on Venmo, I'm on Facebook Pay, I'm on all that good stuff. If you want to kick down, that's great. If you can't or you don't feel like it, that's cool too, man. Do me a favor, share the feed, or more to the point, share these short clips that I keep rolling out on the Facebook page, the YouTube page, because those really get some traction. They're doing well for me. So thank you for that. And since Mike is here, Stone, since you're here, I get to tell him, live the three, baby. Live the three. Live the three. What are you talking about? The three prime directives. Those rules for life on planet Bart, man. The important stuff. Rule number one, you got to be signal in a world full of noise. What is the signal? The signal is the truth. What is the noise? All the lies, all the obfuscations, all the BS, the lies of the deceiver that try to mess with that. You've got to be the signal that punches through the noise. You've got to be light in a world full of darkness, and they will try to bury you with the darkness, demoralize, dehumanize, emasculate you with the darkness, make you think there's something left in darkness. You have got to be that light and carry that light through a long-lasting darkness. Which brings me to the third rule, the final rule, the iron rule, the prime directive. You have got to be strength in a world full of weakness. And strength like this is great. This kind of strength, great, but it's not just here and here. It's got to be here and here, and guys, even here. Find your spine, let your balls drop, because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Without strength, you won't be able to punch that signal through the noise. Without strength, you won't be able to punch that light through the darkness. So strength above all. And when you hit your knees at night to pray, and you better, when you hit your knees at night to pray, you pray for that strength, but pray for clarity and discernment too, because the father of lies is always out there looking to trip you up. Clarity and discernment, strength above all. Pray for it, guys. Put your face in some scripture and your ass under some iron, and I promise you, your world is going to be a better place. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. God bless every single last one of y'all. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Boss man's got the plan. Carpenter's got your back. Let the Spirit work through you. Deus Volt and amen. God bless.